Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker have their hands full with the Usos. Jimmy, Jey, two of, if not one of the best tag teams of all time. Whether you want to argue about the validity of their singles run, when these two come together as a tag team, they are second to none. The excitement, the hype, the athleticism, the legacy that is associated with Jimmy and Jey cannot be denied. And to see them back together after what we've seen over the last couple of years, Jimmy and Jey went their separate ways. Of course, WrestleMania 40 kind of left a sour taste in our mouth when it came to their singles matchup. But now, seeing them back together, rejuvenated, really gets me going, because I love seeing a couple of brothers get together, especially beating on some Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. But what I really found interesting is the advancement in the story that is Main Event Jey Uso. Main Event Jey Uso, earlier this year, wind the clock back, February 1st, it was the Royal Rumble, Indianapolis, Indiana. He wins the Royal Rumble event, catapulting himself into the main event scene, getting a championship opportunity at WrestleMania. People were firmly behind Jey, but upon winning the Royal Rumble, it seemed that the majority of the crowd, at least online, was beginning to grow tiresome of Jey Uso. Now, for those in attendance in the arenas, watching the show from the comfort of their sofa, that would not be the case. A lot of times, it seemed that what was being said on the internet was the minority. But over the course of that title run, Jey Uso wins the World Championship, by the way, as if you didn't already know that. If you're here joining us in the Jey area, you probably already knew that. But the fact is, over the course of that championship run, he was criticized, again, by the online community. And that his moveset wasn't as good as it should have been. That his matches were not up to par as a world champion. That he was hand-picked. That he was nothing more than a catchphrase. 4 letters, 1 word, you know the rest. And so it begged the question, where do we go from here upon him losing that world championship? He would lose the world title to the same man that he defeated, Gunther. And since then, he's been on this quest of rediscovering who he is. He's no longer the world champion. He no longer has the bloodline, but he clamors for the gold that he once held earlier this year. Of course, Seth Rollins, the Vision, have gotten in the way of that. Who else has gotten in the way with it? LA Knight, who again has become fixated on Seth Rollins, who had to feign that injury at Saturday night's main event. So they now have crossed paths and are bumping heads. And we saw that earlier tonight. Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso as well, got into a little bit of a scuffle with Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, and out comes LA Knight. Shout out to you if you said yeah. And it got physical. Jey Uso, of course, gets caught in the middle. LA Knight nearly collides with him. And Bronson Reed tries to collide with LA Knight, but like the sixth sense that he has, little spider sense there, moves out of the way, and instead Bronson Reed splashes onto Jey Uso. Now he has a little bit of pent-up frustration, a little bit of bad blood towards LA Knight, sticking his nose in his business where he thinks that it shouldn't be. So throughout the course of the night, Jimmy talks to Jey saying, hey, LA Knight got a match tonight against Reed. We should be there. We should help him out. And Jey immediately like, why? Why should we help him out? He's not blood. He's not family. He's in the way. Jey Uso has his eyes on the prize. He's going to handle business, of course, with Jimmy. Because at WrestlePalooza, it will be the Usos versus Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. Looking forward to that. But he has his eyes on the prize. He wants to regain that world championship. He wants to reclaim that main event spot that is the name associated with Jey Uso. Jimmy says, hey, you're not looking like yourself. You're not sounding like Jey Uso. You sound like Roman. And the crowd, upon hearing that, ooh, immediately, the crowd becomes hushed. Because we think back, way back when, about 5 years ago, really, when Jey Uso and Roman Reigns were battling over the Universal Championship in the fall of 2020, the infancy of the bloodline. The early story of the bloodline was Jey versus Roman. How Roman had become so obsessed with the world champion, becoming the tribal chief, maintaining his seat at the head of the table. And now, with Jey Uso having tasted a little bit of the glory that is the World's Heavyweight Championship, he needs it. He needs it bad. Although this is the side quest that he's on right now with his brother Jimmy, he recognizes that after this, his eyes are set at the top of the division, and that's Seth Rollins, the World's Heavyweight Champion. Jey Uso, subconsciously, maybe not even realizing it, carrying a little bit of residue of that whole Roman Reigns era of the bloodline. You learn from those before you. He learns from Roman Reigns. Again, whether he likes to admit it or not, Jey Uso could be on the path of Roman Reigns. Now, that could be interpreted as the one of two things. That could be one, the greatness that is Roman Reigns, the OTC, the face of a generation, essentially. Or down a dark path to where he would become isolated. Roman Reigns, at one point, was on top of the world, flanked by the Usos, Solo Sikoa, the Wise Man, hell, even Sami Zayn there for a bit. And one by one, they began to leave his side because he lost sight on family. He became obsessed with championships. Could that be the case with Jey Uso? People have been clamoring for something fresh with Jey Uso. They got tired of hearing the yeet. But now we see Jey Uso and a little bit of an edge, because following the matchup between LA Knight and Bronson Reed, of course the natural schmoz happens, the breakdown. Jimmy gets involved, Braun Breaker gets involved, until finally Jey gets involved, seemingly making the save for LA Knight. But at the end of the night, he spears LA. And again, proving to his brother that he's not with us. We have no allegiance to him. We have no loyalty towards him. And now, essentially saying, now we're even, based off of what happened earlier in the night. I like the little bit of edge that I'm seeing from Jey. Again, it adds another layer to the story. That is Jey Uso, main event Jey Uso. I don't know if he's going to turn completely heel. I don't see that being the case. He's far too over. But I like the little nuance there. So I appreciate that with the story of Jey Uso. I'm looking forward to seeing how it progresses going into and coming out of WrestlePalooza.